Where we need vision, we have a vacuum. Where we need direction, we have drift. These were Wes Streeting's damning words to Keir Starmer as he resigned from the government, catalysing potential chaos for the Labour Party and its leader. The former Health Secretary is the most senior of 5 ministers, now joining calls for Starmer's resignation. Earlier today, former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner said she had resolved her issues with HMRC in a move that could clear the way for her to join a leadership lineup, though she has ruled out triggering the challenge directly herself. Streeting has not yet triggered a leadership challenge either, but called in his resignation letter for a battle of ideas. He said what comes next needs the best possible field of candidates. Joining me now in the studio is MEE's UK political correspondent, Imran Mulla. Imran, welcome back. So there's no challenge yet. It's unclear if anyone has the support, but things seem to be crumbling around Keir Starmer. What is his status as Prime Minister at this point?
Well, no one really knows. For days, people have been waiting expectantly for Wes Streeting to resign from his role as Health Secretary. He's finally done that. Now everyone's waiting expectantly for him to launch a leadership challenge. Why hasn't he done it? Well, at the time that we're speaking, some people are suggesting he hasn't got enough MPs. Others are suggesting it's just a different change, a different tactic. But I think what we can say for sure is that Starmer is not expected to cling on. There are multiple candidates kind of circling in the waters. There will most likely be a leadership contest, and there may be a new Prime Minister by September.
Now, I've also seen that the unions that back Labour, they don't think Starmer will be leading the next election. I don't know that Streeting is hugely popular among the unions, but let's just say Streeting is the future leader. Can you tell us a bit about his record? As far as I'm aware, as far as your reporting goes, it's been particularly interesting on the topic of Israel.
Yes, I mean, Streeting is not necessarily going to be the next Prime Minister, and in fact is not very popular among the membership, but he is one of the most high-powered politicians in the country. He has been Health Secretary after all, and his record on Israel makes him somewhat something of an enigma. Now, he firmly backed Israel and Labour policy of supporting Israel when the genocide in Gaza first happened in 2023. He continued that in 2024. He then nearly lost his seat at the 2024 general election, came just hundreds of votes away from being unseated by a British Palestinian candidate. And many people believe that has influenced some of his rhetoric since. So he has hardened his rhetoric towards Israel. He's criticised the Israeli government quite strongly, in stronger terms than Prime Minister Starmer has, although Streeting has crucially stopped short of accusing Israel of committing war crimes. But privately, it's a different story. So earlier this year, there were leaked messages between Streeting and Peter Mandelson, the now disgraced former ambassador to the US and friend of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. These messages are believed to have been leaked by Streeting or people close to Streeting himself.
Yes, I remember you came on to talk about it at the time.
Yes, exactly. And in these messages, quite explosive when they came out, Streeting said Israel was committing war crimes before our eyes. He called Israel a rogue state. He said the Israeli government was talking the language of ethnic cleansing. He even backed sanctions on Israel. Now, many people believe, I've spoken to people in the Labour Party who think this, that Streeting was trying to position himself as being more critical of Israel than Starmer, with an eye to becoming the future Prime Minister. And that tells you a lot about the mood of the Labour membership and how they feel about Labour policy towards Israel.
Definitely. And another dynamic happening within the Labour factionalism is the sort of right-left tug of war. Tell us a bit about how Starmer, Streeting, Angela Rayner and any of the other relevant political contenders fit onto that spectrum.
So Streeting is considered to be on the right of the Labour Party. You also have Ed Miliband, who's the Energy Secretary. He's considered to be a sort of reluctant candidate, but he may end up being put forward by the soft left of the party. And he's considered to be rather left-wing. He has a very strong record on criticising Israel Israel when he was the Labour leader from 2010 to 2015. Of course, he has the disadvantage that he has actually faced the country in a general election and lost in 2015, so that will damage his credibility. Andy Burnham, meanwhile, is a sort of outsider candidate. So he's the mayor of Greater Manchester, highly popular, particularly within the Labour Party. And he has come to London on a train very dramatically. And he faces significant obstacles because he's not an MP. So he first has to become an MP. So a Labour MP has to stand down, give him the seat. He then has to defend that seat in a by-election. And only then can he enter the leadership contest properly.
Is that realistic? Is Andy Burnham realistically a contender in this leadership?
I think he really is. His allies are saying that he's got a seat lined up, although we don't know what seat that is. And if he manages to get his seat and defend it, I think he will find enough support among the MPs, many of whom will feel that Streeting is not going to be a popular candidate. Now, if Burnham makes it, and if Streeting is facing him, Burnham will be far more popular among the Labour members. We've seen the polling. Streeting is actually the least popular candidate, less popular than Angela Rayner, the former Deputy Prime Minister, who's also rumoured to be throwing her hat into the ring. Streeting is amusingly less popular than Starmer himself, so it's possible that Starmer could end up running in the leadership contest and beat Streeting. Who knows?
Well, that's very, very interesting. And indeed, Angela Rayner, positioning herself, has just this morning announced that she's in the clear with HMRC. She's paid stamp duty that she hadn't paid. So it definitely seems viable. She'll be in the running. Now, all of this is happening in the wake of local elections, which were predictably disastrous for the Labour Party, but also a chance for voters to send a message to the Labour Party about the particular ways in which they are discontented. What did we learn from the local election about what voters want more from or less from the government, and how could that play into this leadership contest?
Well, look, the big winners of the local elections were Reform, undoubtedly. However, that's slightly misleading when we're thinking about Labour and how the Labour leadership should be thinking, because actually Labour lost more votes to the Green Party than to Reform. So this is an indictment of the Labour policy as masterminded by Morgan McSweeney, Keir Starmer's former Chief of Staff, which was basically saying, let's ignore the traditional left-wing voters and let's attempt to move to the right to court Reform voters. The expectation was that left-wing voters wouldn't have anywhere else to go. Well, a lot of them moved over to the Greens. So now the expectation is the next Labour leader, or whoever wants to be the next leader and Prime Minister, will want to court the left again. They'll want to puncture the Green Party balloon and win support over from the left. That will mean many things. It will probably mean changing immigration policy. There'll be a massive push and pull over that. It will mean more left-wing economic policies, certainly. But what it will also mean in terms of foreign policy is a tougher stance on Israel. So a big reason that many voters moved over to the Greens was because of disgust at continued British cooperation with Israel. And I think that every contender in this leadership contest will be well aware of that, and they'll make signals to suggest that they're going to be tougher and they're going to act with more moral clarity on Israel. I should say, if everyone hopes that the Iran war doesn't start up again, but if it does, that will also be a big factor, because then the big question every contender will have to answer is, would you allow the US to use British bases in order to attack Iran?
Mm-hmm. So this could be an issue that does not affect UK audiences, but could have real ramifications on the international stage as well.
Yes, I feel that it will likely it will reshape British foreign policy in the Middle East. I think it's almost certain to do that, whoever becomes the next Prime Minister.
Imran Mulla, thank you so much for joining me here today.